Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Talk Data to Me, the podcast where we break down AI culture, world news, and the future all through the lens of data. I am your host, Shahana Muhammad, and this week one word kept showing up no matter what headline I read, and that was access. Who gets access to technology? Who gets access to information? Who gets access to opportunity? Because once you start paying attention, you realize that's what a lot of today's biggest stories are really about. So let's get into it. AI and politics. Now, one of the biggest AI stories this week isn't about a brand new chatbot. It is about Google. Now, the European Union has ordered Google to open parts of its Android platform and search ecosystems to competitors, including AI companies like OpenAI, to comply with new digital competition rules. Now, the goal is to reduce the dominance of big tech and make it easier for rival AI assistants to compete. Now, think about that. For years, the conversation was, can Google dominate search? Now, the conversation is, should Google be required to help its competitors? That's a completely different conversation. Whether you agree with the ruling or not, it tells you something important. Governments aren't just watching AI. They're shaping how AI companies compete. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest stories over the next few years because of the precedent it's going to set. Because AI isn't just about innovation anymore, it's about access. Now, speaking of access, let's zoom out into some world news. One thing I've noticed, countries aren't just competing over military power anymore. They're competing over technology, data, semiconductors, artificial intelligence, economic influence. The world feels more connected than ever, but at the same time, more competitive than ever. Technology has become part of diplomacy, part of national security, part of economic strategy. And I don't think we're going backwards. We are entering a world where technology and global politics are permanently connected. Now, let's talk music, one of my favorite portions of this show. Welcome back to another edition of Musical Data. Now, this week, one of the biggest entertainment moments wasn't a traditional album release. It was the first ever FIFA World Cup halftime show featuring artists like Madonna, BTS, Justin Bieber, Shakira, Burna Boy, and more. It felt like the World Cup was borrowing a page from the Super Bowl and turning a global sporting event into a global music stage. I think that's interesting because music, in my opinion, is not just entertainment anymore. It's becoming part of the global culture. It's always been part of the global culture, let's just say, right? Everybody knows who Michael Jackson is, and no matter what language it translates to, it still beat it, okay? Now, I will say I did take a second to listen to Tierra Whack new album, Whack Museum. And I must say, definitely a bop. Definitely would recommend some of my album faves. Whack Job, Wax Paper, Siren. Candle Wax is definitely like a chill vibe song, and Flowers is big bop. Now I'm gonna say this. I grew up listening to Missy Elliott. I grew up a fan of Missy Elliott and that whole camp. And on one of the songs, it sounded like Miss Tierra Whack took a shot. And I said, no. On Wiggity Whack, she says, what's a misdemeanor to a felon? And I said, is that a shot at Missy? No, that's not a shot at Missy. And then on Totem, she said, my new name is Felony, not misdemeanor. Did I miss something? Maybe I missed something, I don't know. But if you want to know what musical data you should be getting into besides the catch up of the FIFA from this weekend. Tierra Whack is definitely one of it. I thought the production value was great. Overall replay value definitely will be bopping all of my faves again. It's it's definitely if I had to rate it 1 out of 10, I definitely give it an 8 out of 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for sure, for sure. And that is this week's musical data. Now let's get to the Control Alt Dream. Imagine it's 10 years from now. Everybody has access to AI. Everybody has access to information. Everybody has access to the same technology. Now what? Because if everyone has the same tools, the difference won't be the technology. The difference will be what people choose to build with it. Maybe the future doesn't belong to the people with the best software. Maybe it belongs to the people with the best ideas. And that, my friends, is our Control Alt Dream. And that is all for today's episode. We talked AI, we talked world news, we talked music, and hopefully we reminded ourselves that access is only the beginning. What you do with it, that's what changes everything. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, hit that like button, and let me know. Comment access. If everyone has access to AI, what do you think will separate people in the future? Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking data to me.